To become fearless, one must rehearse fear. Not once, not in crisis, but daily. Walk with me. Stand beneath the broken columns of the Parthenon. The marble is chipped, the statues are weathered, the sky above Athens is wide and indifferent. Empires have passed like seasons, armies have risen and vanished like breath on winter glass. And yet one habit survived. Not a speech, not a battle cry, not motivation. A daily mental training, a quiet rehearsal of loss. The Greeks did not chase courage the way modern men chase inspiration. They did not wait for a rousing speech or a burning moment of emotion. They practiced something colder. They practiced premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of adversity. They would sit, often before dawn, and imagine loss. Loss of status, loss of wealth, loss of comfort, loss of life. Not to suffer in advance, but to dissolve fear at its root. You see, fear feeds on surprise. Anxiety feeds on uncertainty. The Greeks architected certainty in the mind before the world delivered chaos. This was not pessimism, it was preparation. And schools do not teach this. They teach achievement, they teach ambition, they teach performance, but they do not teach how to sit alone and stare at the possibility of ruin without flinching. That is why anxiety is epidemic. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. When you feel anxious about the future, what exactly are you afraid of? Is it poverty? Embarrassment? Rejection? Death? Have you ever sat down and traced the fear to its final shape? Or do you let it roam your mind like a shadow without a name? The Greeks named their shadows, and once named, shadows shrink. Consider the Stoics. Consider Epictetus, born a slave. His leg was twisted by a cruel master. He owned nothing, and yet he spoke with a composure that would shame kings. Why? Because he had already rehearsed losing everything. If you have already accepted loss in the theater of your mind, what can the world take from you? Fearlessness is not aggression, it is detachment, and detachment is trained. The Greek mind understood something modern culture refuses to admit. Comfort breeds fragility. A soft life creates brittle souls. So they hardened the mind daily. They would imagine exile. They would imagine illness. They would imagine public humiliation. And then they would ask, if this happened, what would remain? Would my character remain? Would my discipline remain? Would my arete remain? If the answer was yes, they stood up calmer than before. Tell me, if your career collapsed tomorrow, what would remain of you? If your reputation were attacked, what would remain? If your health faltered, what would remain? Is your identity anchored in things that can be stripped away, or in something internal? This is the social tension no one wants to face. We are trained to build external structures, titles, followers, wealth, applause. But almost no one trains the internal citadel. So when external walls shake, panic floods the mind. The Greeks built the inner fortress first. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations not from a palace of ease, but from battlefronts. Plague ravaged Rome, betrayal lurked in his court, death surrounded him. And yet his writings are calm. Why? Because every morning he reminded himself, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. This was not morbidity, it was clarity. If death is possible today, what is worth fearing? If humiliation is survivable, why tremble before it? The habit was simple. Imagine the worst, accept it, then act anyway. But acceptance is not resignation, it is liberation. Let me ask you, what would happen if you truly accepted the worst-case scenario in your life? Not dramatically, not theatrically,
quietly. Would it destroy you? Or would you discover that your fear was exaggerated by avoidance? Anxiety thrives in vagueness. The Greeks eliminated vagueness. They would strip fear of decoration and examine its bones. You fear losing your job. Very well. Imagine it. You wake up unemployed. You tell your family. Your friends react. Then what? Do you starve or do you adapt? Do you lose dignity or do you build new skill? Fear inflates because it is unexamined. The Greeks examined it daily. This is why they appeared fearless in battle, not because they lacked imagination, but because they had already used it. The warrior who has rehearsed death is not reckless. He is composed. He knows the cost. He has weighed it. He proceeds deliberately. Modern society calls this negative thinking. But look around. Motivational slogans have not reduced anxiety. Endless positivity has not built resilience, because fear does not dissolve by denial. It dissolves by exposure. And exposure can be voluntary. Tell me, when was the last time you voluntarily sat with discomfort? No phone, no distraction, no noise. Just you and the possibility that life will not obey your plans. Did you flee or did you endure? The Greeks believed arete, excellence, was not proven in comfort. It was forged in resistance. You cannot claim excellence if your peace depends on perfect conditions. True arete is steady in storm, and storms are inevitable. Here's another question you may resist. Are you afraid of pain, or are you afraid of appearing weak? Many fears are social. The fear of embarrassment, the fear of failure in public, the fear of not measuring up. The Greeks trained indifference to public opinion. Socrates stood before a jury that would sentence him to death. He did not beg. He did not perform sorrow. He questioned. Why? Because he had already accepted the consequence. If you accept the consequence, you are no longer controlled by it. Anxiety often is the fear of losing approval. So let me ask you plainly, whose approval governs your decisions? Your parents? Your peers? Strangers on a screen? If their opinion vanished, would your path change? Or would you continue as before? The daily mental training was not glamorous. It did not trend. It did not entertain. It was repetition. Morning reflection. Evening review. In the evening, they would ask, where did I act out of fear today? Where did I compromise my arete? Where did I allow emotion to override reason? This was not self-hatred, it was refinement. Marble is shaped by repeated strikes. Character is shaped by repeated examination. Without examination, erosion sets in. Small fears become habits. Habits become character. Character becomes destiny. Let me press further. When anxiety strikes you, do you question it or do you obey it? If your mind says, do not speak, you will look foolish, do you retreat automatically or do you test the fear? The Greeks tested fear. They would deliberately place themselves in minor discomforts, cold baths, simple meals, public debate, not to suffer unnecessarily, but to prove that they could endure. If you can endure voluntary discomfort, involuntary discomfort loses its sting. Consider this. If you can fast occasionally, hunger loses its terror. If you can speak publicly despite trembling, embarrassment loses its power. If you can detach from luxury, poverty loses its horror. The habit was gradual exposure to fear, not dramatic, not theatrical, consistent. Tell me, what discomfort are you avoiding that secretly controls you? Is it confrontation, rejection, solitude? Have you ever walked directly towards it, or have you built your life around avoiding it? The Greeks would say, whatever you avoid controls you, and whatever you face weakens. This is not aggression, It is discipline. Remember the paradox. To be free, you must become a servant to your own training. Freedom is not the absence of fear. It is mastery over it. And mastery is daily. Now, consider injustice. You live in a world where narratives are sold, where comfort is marketed, where fear is amplified. Anxious minds are profitable. Calm minds are dangerous. A man who is not afraid cannot be manipulated easily. A woman who has accepted loss cannot be coerced by threat. So society does not teach this habit. It teaches dependency. Dependency on praise, dependency on security, dependency on constant reassurance. But the Greeks built internal security. Let me ask